All right, welcome to what we are going to call episode 31 of the Athletic Philosopher podcast. I am your humble host, Jordan Goldstein, former university professor in sport history, sport psychology, sociology, philosophy, wrote a few books, published a few articles on hockey, on golf, on lots of fun things. Currently, we don't live in the university anymore. Thank God for that. Insane factories. Now we just ply our trade outside of the ivory tower, doing fitness coaching, life coaching, mentoring, guiding, endurance training, coaching, the travel prof, the trail running rabbi, the life professor, a bunch of different monikers. All of the above, none of the above, most likely somewhere in the golden mean and the harmony between them all. I am very excited to share one of the most profound ideas that I would say creates a scaffold onto the deep athletic philosophy that I am currently experimenting with, investigating, experiencing, developing, crafting, and creating live in front of all of you beautiful people with my Strava results, with my book club readings, blah, blah, probing deep into the, we'll call it the physical and the intellectual arguments, creating primary source evidence, and using forums like Substack and this podcast to untangle the mess that's in my mind. And this idea, this one is a big one. And we'll just go with the tag, and then we'll figure out what we're doing with it. The title of the episode, Play is Serious, Work is the Distraction. Play is serious, work is the distraction. Now, as with all of these episodes, I may have a loose understanding or a loose theme or a quote or a guide or a few sentences on what it is I'm about to talk about. Today, I literally just have that sentence. I've got nothing else. I have no conception of what I'm going to be talking about other than it's centered around that very important phrase and how it's going to work into our athletic lives, into our fitness training, and ultimately how we can utilize that in the other arenas, in the other areas of our lives. So why do I want to talk to you about play? Why do I think it's so serious? And why do I think work is such a distraction? Work is important. Productivity is important. We have bills to pay, we got mouths to feed, and ain't nobody got time in the modern world for much else other than that, right? How often do we hear phrases like working for the weekend, or work to live, or weekend warrior, or all of these elements that position work as the top of our priority, right? And we got to work, we got to eat, right? We got to provide, we got to have shelter, we got to keep the lights on, all of that. So I'm not here to say work is unnecessary. But I didn't say that. I said work is the distraction. Work is the distraction. And play is serious. Now, when thinking about our fitness, our sports participation, the ways in which we live our lives athletically, children intuitively get that sports are for fun. Sports are for play. Sports are games. Sports are meant to give us a break, effectively, from the drudgery and seriousness of, like, we'll say school, family obligations, learning, all those funky things. And in the adult world, we tend to misunderstand and misapply the concept of play. So I'll put my philosopher hat on for a second here, and let's talk about play as a concept. What does it mean to play? What is play? How do we know we're engaged in play? Why should we mark out time in our busy schedules to engage ourselves in play. Tricky stuff. We want a working definition of play. I'm not interested in a theoretical definition of play. I want something that we can grab, that we can touch, and that we can apply in the world. So when thinking about play, a really good understanding for us to at least start this exploration with is out of the ordinary, set apart. Play is not the real world. It's demarcated out from my normal mundane activities with special rules, with special boundaries, with special guidelines. And what happens during play doesn't impact the rest of the world. Play is a totally separate category from the normal. So play is a place where we go to relieve ourselves from burden. Play is also all-absorbing, all-encompassing. So if it's set apart from the normal, I don't think about the normal when I'm doing it. The outside world, it dissolves. And the play world becomes a hyper-reality unto itself. So play is set apart. Play is all-absorbing. Play is also internally motivated. I can't be playing if I'm being paid to do it. Ooh, this is an interesting one when we start to talk about athletes. Let me move back a second. We can't be playing if my primary motive for doing it is external, is it's beyond myself. The first principle of play is that I do it for its own sake. It's an end unto itself. And I engage in that activity because I want to, because I desire to. So play is set apart. Play is all-absorbing. Play is internally motivated. But how can it be serious? I don't do it for a reward. I don't do it for a purpose other than just to do it. And I'm actively removing myself from the parts of my life that relate to the objective outcomes in terms of like my work, my relationships. Isn't that the serious world? You're confusing me, Professor. Make it make sense, please. Yeah, we'll get there. We always get there. Don't worry about that. We still have to figure out exactly what this play thing is. Okay? Play is serious. Why? Because it's done for its own sake. Because it's done out of the conviction of my spirit. Because it's done for fun. That doesn't make it easy. That doesn't make it without challenge. And that doesn't mean it's not important. Let's go back to that childlike imagination for a second. How does a child learn? Do they learn by discipline? Sometimes. Do they learn by repetition and memorization? They can. But that's not deep learning. That's kind of like the surface. That's repetition. That is obedience. When a child is truly grasping something, it's through a game. It's through play. Think about the way toddlers play house. Think about the way they imitate. Think about the way they demarcate the play space from the ordinary space. You ever try and tell a kid to stop playing? What happens? Do they just immediately say, yeah, happy to. I'm not interested in the play world anyways. Wrong. It's like you opened up the gates of hell. Ah! Is generally what you get. especially if you try to physically remove them from the play world when they're not ready. You're like taking them from one universe into another, and they don't want to come back into your universe. Remember, play is set apart. Play is differentiated by boundaries. Play is the most serious thing a child does on the daily. You think school is serious to a kid? School is a distraction. All they want to do is play. They want to play a sport. They want to play with their toys. They want to play video games. They want to play anything other than sit down and do work. So for a child, the sentence play is serious and work is a distraction makes total sense. It's obvious. And we can see it in the way that they play sports. We can see it in the way they consume sports. We can see it in the way that they just physically move about in joyful, creative, and exploratory ways without the need to score, without the need to win, without the need to prove anything other than I'm having fun. I'm enjoying myself. I'm learning about the world through my own interest and my own desire. So play is learning. Play is real learning. Learning about the things I want to learn about. Whether that's how to imitate mom and dad in the playhouse, whether that's how to kick a soccer ball out on the field with my friends. Play is serious because it's the place where children learn the most. Now we're getting somewhere. But in the adult world, we invert it. Work is serious and play is the distraction. And all the things that adults are told to play at are total distractions. Think about the ways in which adults are told it's appropriate to play. I mean, really play. That idea of fun, that idea of separated out from the normal world where the boundaries don't exist. Sorry, the normal boundaries don't exist. The normal rules need not apply. It's consuming stuff. It's escaping through entertainment, through substances, through fancy vacations, through voyeuristic activities, spectatorship. All the ways adults are told to play are distractions. But what are they distractions from? They're distractions from building. They're distractions from creation. They're distractions from expression. They're distractions from art. They're distractions from your spirit. When the child is playing, their spirit is alive because they're engaged in activity for the pure love of it, to grow through challenge, and to enjoy the entirety of the action and the journey just for its own sake. When an adult plays in a way that they're told to play, there's no creation, there's no spirit. It's just that big, old distraction. And you can see the results, can't you? The ways in which we're told to play as adults lead us to unhealthy lives, mismanaged weights, way too much sitting around, way too much offloading of the heroic effort to other people so we can watch them on a screen or cheer them on from a bleacher. The play is distracting us. So we can either escape or we double down in the serious world, which is the work world. So we work too much for money that we don't need, to buy stuff to impress people we don't need to impress, to live lives, to quote my man Thoreau, of quiet desperation, Where on the outside, it looks like we got it all together. But on the inside, man, there's no meaning. It's hollow. It's shallow. It's a facade. It's an illusion. It's a delusion. When work is serious, there is no meaning. There is no purpose. You're only doing it because you're being told to do it. You're only doing it for some kind of an external reward, some external motivation. And so you may have all the stuff. You may look serious. But your life, let's be real, kind of a joke. And a lot of people feel this way internally. They've spent their entire lives going for the things that society has told them to do, to shun that inner signal on where to really go, on where to really aim. So they end up being too serious, too jaded, not light enough. No fun, no real fun, just acceptable fun. How do we fix this? It's a gigantic problem. I'm telling you, team. I live in the suburbs. I live in the serious suburbs. People with serious job titles, serious houses, serious money. You know how many smiles I see walking around, driving in the cars? Very few. Even the kids. Whenever it seems like they got a smile on their face, someone is quick to say, get in the car. We got to go. We got to do this. We got to do that. You got to make it to this practice. You got to be at this rehearsal. You got to be doing that activity. We're turning the kids' play into the seriousness of the adults' work. And if you don't think I'm right on this, what has happened to kids' sports over the past 20 years? Are these less serious places or more serious places? You got kids training in one sport for 12 months of the year when they're 7, 8 years old. They got nutritionists. They got strength coaches. They got skills development coaches. Parents are paying 5 figures, over 5 figures a year to put their kids in travel sports when they're 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, thinking that little Johnny or little Susie is going to be the next big-time pro athlete. What did I say? People live in a delusion? Yeah, you're living in a delusion. Kids are dropping out of sports. By the time most kids are 12 and 13, the attrition rate in sports is incredible. 75% of them are done with it. They're done with it. Why? Because it's no fun. Because it's not play. Because it's work. Because the adults have come in and ruined it. Because they don't know how to play. So they're forcing down this idea of the work being the serious part of life right on into the kids, and it's ruining play. The kids aren't learning anything. They're not growing. They're not developing. They're just being told to do this, do that, run this drill, go harder. Dehumanize yourself for the object, for the win, for the goal, for the stats, for the line, for the scholarship, for the payday. No wonder kids don't want to play sports. The adults are ruining it for them. And why is that? Because they don't know how to play. They forgot. They forgot that play is serious and they need to attend to it as if it is serious, as if their lives depended on it, which in some way it does. If you want to have a happy life, if you want the good life, if you want to strive towards a life of virtue, of meaning, and of purpose, play's got to be at the center of your equation. Now we're getting somewhere. And why is that? Play is where I learn about who I am. Play is where I interact with the world and I bring my creativity and my imagination and my curiosity to solve problems. Play is where I tap into that internal signal of knowing, of passion, of desire. Play is where the spirit reigns, where it demands perfection in a contest that means nothing, in an activity that has no connection to the external world, that's just done for its own sake. When I give myself space to play in a serious way, the responsibilities of work become easy. I'm able to properly prioritize things. I'm able to live within the proper hierarchy of values, where the things that I desire the most are at the top and the things that other people expect go way down onto the bottom, crushed by my aspirations and dreams. Not my dreams and aspirations being crushed by the world. Somebody out there just like had a shudder that went right through them when I said that. I know it. Because you did it to yourself. You had a goal. You had a dream. You thought, I could really do this in the world. And then that professor, that high school teacher, that guidance counselor who gave up on themselves, gave up on their dreams, told you to forget about it. Don't bother. Take the safe route. Take the stable route. Take the secure route. Get the money. Get the bag. Get the house. Get the mortgage. Get the car. Take what's known. Take what's certain. Provide the necessities. Work to live. I saw on Twitter the other day. If you live for the weekend, that's like 6,000 days of your life. Maybe it's 600 days. It's bad. Either way, it's bad. It's not a lot of days. Is that all you really want? To live for the weekend? To not enjoy your life 5 days a week just so you can pretend to enjoy the other two in activities you're told you should be enjoying it? Oh my gosh. Hell on earth, team. Hell on earth. We begin to celebrate the ordinary when we get to live in the extraordinary. We get to slow down the fast pace of the world around us when our hearts and souls are filled up with enthusiasm. And there's only one place we can get all those things, and that's in the play world. Think about the intensity of a child fully absorbed in play. You can see that they're alive. You can see they're living. You can see an excitement that you harness all the time, especially as a parent. Hey, you want to go back to the play world? Do this thing. Brush your teeth. Take out the trash. Do the dishes. Do your homework. Do the distracting thing so that you can get back to the real thing that you want. We probably shouldn't utilize the play world as a carrot. But, parents have to motivate their kids somehow in order to take on the drudgeries of responsibility and the distracting parts of the work world that take us away from that inner signal. So we can't all play all the time, but we have to recognize that play is a crucial component of the good life, of a meaningful life, of a rich life. And not just the play that everybody tells us to go out and engage ourselves in. It's like a little bit of a joke that the only types of play that adults are allowed to engage in are consumptive play. But that's more destructive than anything, right? Think about what consumption really is. It's a destructive force. I don't want to play in a destructive way. I want to play in a way that grows, that expands my capacity, that helps me learn. There's an entire school of thought in child psychology, it comes from Jean Piaget, that play is the way that children learn. The whole Montessori system is based off that, and I think it's correct. Play is even deeper than that. There are some theorists on play. Johann Huizinga, for example, who wrote this book called Homo Ludens, which is Man at Play. His basic argument is that play is the precondition to order. Play is the exercise of marking off what is and isn't acceptable, inbounds and out of bounds. And that initial impulse to separate out is what gives us social order. It's what gives us cooperation. It's what gives us community. It's what gives us civics, politics, education. It gives us everything. Play is the precondition to order. Now do you start to see how serious this stuff is, team? Without play, we don't have order. It's just chaos. Oh, that's what my life feels like. My life just feels like chaos. It feels like I'm being pulled in one direction or that direction. I'm just drifting. No wonder you're drifting. You're living in chaos and you're deluding yourself thinking that it's order. You mistake the neat and ordered calendar with all of your dates and appointment as order inside of yourself, but it's chaos on the inside. You're wreaking havoc on yourself on the inside. The facade is the order on the outside. There's no play. Play creates the conditions for order. So if I want to order my life based on principles and values to aim at a deep and meaningful existence, well, shoot. Play's got to be at the center. When I say that play's got to be at the center of your equation, that's exactly what I mean. Like if you don't want to just live expediently, if you don't want to just live for status and stuff, your alternative is to live through the heart. It's to have a value system, it's to have principles, it's to have deep-seated beliefs, and to take on the struggles and the sacrifices against the world outside of you, apart from you, to stand true, to steadfast, and hold on to those principles and beliefs through difficult action, rather than toss them away, toss them into the trash like they're weighing you back. Without play, there is no order. There's only chaos. And then the mind will come in and will tell you it's something that it's not. All right. Where is the sport in all of this? When it comes to play, there are so many of us that felt the most alive, the most like us, the most genuine, the most authentic when we were playing sports as expressions of our spirits. When we were with our friends, creating games in our neighborhoods, in our backyards, right? On the playground at school. We had what we had. We had equipment. We had limitations based on whatever yard we were in or playground. And we decided to make something up so that we could express ourselves and have fun. But fun in a very serious way, where the rules really mattered, where we would kick somebody out of the game if they decided to, break the rules, think that they were too big for the game. We weren't interested in that. We all had to submit. We all had to play. We had this one game, little story here. We had this one game that we made up called Z-Ball, which I will just describe Z-Ball right now. So we came up with this game when we were in high school. This is when people were just starting to get like their part-time jobs, right? And a lot of us were high-level soccer players, like in our friend group, pardon me. So we have these limitations on our time, right? People are working these after-school jobs. We still want to hang out and have fun together. And one of the things we love to do is play sports with each other. But now we're starting to get off work, and it's dark, and we can't just go to, the local soccer pitch and kick the ball around on the grass because it's dark. We don't have access to a lighted field. Sometimes we would drive around the neighborhood to see if there was a lighted field that no other team or game was happening, and then we would jump on. But that just takes a lot of time, and we got homework, we got school the next day, we got these jobs. There's all these growing demands on our time. The work world, the serious world, is starting to really encroach upon our childhood. So what do? We fight back with play. We live in the suburban area, right? So where do we all go? We all go to the mall. And now I'm dating myself because I guess nobody probably goes to the mall anymore. Do people even go to malls? Do they even really exist? Probably not. So we decide to meet up in these parking lots. And the game's called Z-Ball because we met up in one particular parking lot, the old Zeller's parking lot. And we love to play soccer, so we have a soccer ball. But, like, can you really play a game of soccer, like a fun game of soccer, in a parking lot? No. We also have this thing where, maybe half of the friend group plays like elite level soccer, like the highest level soccer you can play. And the rest of us, or the rest of the team, sorry, because I was one of those people at the high end. The rest of the group, they like playing soccer, but they're not really good at it, we'll say. Certainly not to the level that most of us are. So now we have this stew. We got to create something out of it. We've got limited time, we have limited space, we got limited opportunities. Some of us have expanded skill, some of us had limited skill. So how are we about to create something that is meaningful, that helps us all grow together, that's fun, but also, kind of serious in the sense that we care about what we're doing? Well, enter Z-Ball. So we create this game. It's a soccer-based game where we aim, like the goal is to hit the light post, right? So, you got like a big light post at the end of one of these rows of where the cars are going to park, and you got like the wide sort of like concrete base, and then you've got the slender light pole. So the goal is to hit the light post, the slender light post with the ball, and there's kind of like a crease area where you're not allowed to go. Okay, so we now have an aim, but we got to figure out how we're going to actually play this game, especially when some of us are really great at soccer and some of us are objectively pretty bad at the game. Okay, so we handicap it. It's now a 3-on-2 game. 3 okay to not great players versus 2 excellent players. And through just the operations, right, we test out what works, what doesn't work, right? Which set of rules is going to allow for the most amount of fun for the most amount of people involved. We just, out of thin air, create this game that becomes the one thing everybody wants to do. Everyone is now looking for that 1 or 2 nights a week where we can all meet at like 10 o'clock at night and go play Z-Ball in a park in an empty parking lot. And you may say, well, you should have been doing your homework, or you should have been working, or you should have been this, or you should have been that. No, we shouldn't have. We were doing exactly what we should have done. We were creating meaning out of nothing with our imaginations, and that fueled us to get our homework done. That fueled us to go to our part-time jobs, right? That fueled us to take on the responsibilities, the burgeoning responsibilities of adulthood that all young adults face, right? There's this challenge. You're talking about 16 and 17-year-old kids. And if it was so important for us to be able to go out and play in a constructive, imaginary, curiosity-driven way, man, isn't it even more important for the adults to be doing this? We have way more responsibilities. We have way more obligations. Our world is far more serious than that of a 16-year-old, even if a 16-year-old's kind of melodramatic about their whole existence. So we need to play. And for so many of us, the play that we need the most is physical play. It's competitions. It's sport, right? But the sports that we played, we're not really told that it's okay for us to play them. Like, it's hard to go play soccer. It's hard to go play baseball. It's hard to go play football. You can play a game, pick up basketball. Like, you can maybe play a game of shinny. That's pick up hockey for those non-Northerners, non-Canucks out there. So what are we supposed to do? For those of us who had athletic identities that were based in play, This is where the overconsumption of sports comes from. This is where I'm now following all the leagues way too much. Like, I'm putting down my prop bets. I'm in 20 different fantasy leagues. Like, my belly is growing into 2XL, 3XL, 4XL jerseys of other men. And I'm just sitting here wasting away my life consuming other people's accomplishments and deluding myself thinking that I'm a serious person. You're not a serious person. The serious person is the one that listens to the voice inside of them and determines that's the way I gotta go. The serious adult is the one who gives themselves time to play. A hobby, a craft, something they're creating, something they're developing themselves in, something that is difficult, something that is a struggle, but they don't care about the outcome. They do it for its own sake. We used to praise hobbies for that exact reason. We used to understand that people needed somewhere to go to do something productive and creative that wasn't related to a paycheck, that wasn't related to some objective status, that wasn't related to fitting in with the it crowd, keeping up with the Joneses or any of that garbage. Play is serious because it's the place where I know myself, where I bring myself to life, and I then order the rest of my life around the priorities that I find in the play world. And if you can create play with your body, well, that's going to have an outsized impact on the value of your life, because not only are you satisfying that spiritual itch that's inside of you to go off and play, but you're going to be making yourself healthy. You're going to be pushing. You're going to be showing other people objectively what a life built around passion can bring in terms of healthy body, healthy mind, healthy spirit. Play is the linchpin behind it all. Without play, what is the saying? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. You're a dull boy without play, bro. And when you play in the wrong way as an adult, you become even duller. You become even more lifeless. You become just like all the others, but even worse. You delude yourself into thinking you're different, you're special. Nah. Play is serious. Play is so serious that when you don't do it, you're dead. And you may be breathing, but you're not alive. I'm really happy that I don't force myself to come to conclusions on these podcasts. We're just sort of exploring the world of ideas. This is a deep idea. Play is something I'll always come back to. It's a concept that can never get old. It's in one of these evergreen topics. I like to think that a lot of my topics are evergreen. So I might swirl around the same thing over and over and over again. But I'm just trying to create based on where the inner signal is sending me. Heck, even this podcast is a play. They call it playing sports for a reason. There's also a reason why exercise isn't necessarily play. Exercise is that serious physical work. I wonder why people are so miserable in gyms. It's because they don't want to be there. There's a very small percentage of the people who go to the gym to play. They love weightlifting. They love exercising. They love push-ups. Great. That's amazing. 95% of people hate that stuff. I hate that stuff. I don't play in a gym. I play in the forest. I go trail running. That's play for me. Even if trail running was objectively bad for me, I'd still do it. And sometimes it is objectively bad for me. Like, I can get injured. I can strain myself, right? I can force myself into dangerous positions by having to drive through inclement weather when I should have just stayed home. And then my reward when I get to the trail is running in the horrible weather that I just had to drive through. Objectively, sometimes it's not a good thing for me to go and trail run. I don't care. Play's not objectively good in that sense. It doesn't need to be. In fact, when you force play to be objectively good, now you've made it work. Now you've made it work. And now you're distracted. You're off signal. You're off the mark. Your aim is a lie. And my aim with my athletic philosophy is to teach you, me, together through our experiences that physical activity is an expression of the spirit. That sports are a vehicle of the soul. And what are those conditions of play that we talked about way back at the beginning? Play is internally motivated. Play is separated out from the real world. And that it's not objective. So the more I can give myself over to the play impulse that's inside of me to do things just for the sake of love, for fun, for enjoyment, for challenge, for growth, internal growth, the more I will become emboldened to take on the other responsibilities of the serious world, the work world, with the same type of passion, expression, creativity, imagination, presence, peace, harmony that I find in the play world when I get to touch it often. I can't play all the time as an adult, clearly, just like a child can't play all the time. But without play as a focal point of your week or of your day, you'll just drift away from who you are. You'll lose yourself. You'll be distracted away from what you truly should be doing, the ways you truly should be living to fulfill you internally on the inside. Because you're just Jack. You're a dull boy. All work. And a misunderstanding of what you should be playing at. So the clarion call to finish this guy off is to go play sports you love. Go move your ways in bodies that are fun. Who cares what they look like? Who cares if you burn calories at an effective, efficient rate? Who really even cares if other people think what you're doing is worthwhile? Do you enjoy it? Do you like the challenge? Do you like the way your body feels when you're engaged in that motion? Good. That's the only thing that matters. Do that way more often. Do it as often as you can. Do it so often that you determine to discipline yourself to now start doing the things that you don't want to do. Use the play world to fill you up, to take on the obligations and the responsibilities, just like we were doing playing Z-ball out in the parking lot at 11:30 at night, so that we could get up on Saturday morning and go to our part-time jobs and not be too upset about it. Adults need play. Just as a child needs play, the adult needs to allow their inner child a chance to reign supreme every once in a while. Otherwise, we're just distracted. And that's just not a way to live. I don't want to drift away from who I am. I want to strengthen and enhance what's going on inside of me. So go play. Play sports you love. Often, always, with the people who want to play too. And I promise you, oh my gosh, team, I promise you, you will never need to have any clarification. I'm not even sure I clarified this. I don't even know if you can theoretically. I don't even want to do it theoretically. I want you to do it experientially. I want you to go out and prove my thesis is correct, that play is serious and work is the distraction. If you haven't been playing enough, go do it. You'll know that I'm right. And I don't need to put it together any words or logical arguments to prove it. My philosophy is not based on logic. It's based on experience. So go out and feel it. Report back to me. Tell me if you disagree. I'm happy to be proven wrong. I just have a strong suspicion you don't want to argue that after you've done it. Instead, you might come onto my side and start telling all your other adult friends, hey, why don't you go out and play some more? You're too serious. Peace and love, team. Talk to you in the next one.